Welcome to the Pat White Show.
Well, if you've been wondering about the status of a potential casino coming to New Haven, Indiana, let me give you the latest information. Apparently, the plan is still on as near as we can tell because the folks at Full House Resorts have decided to move the potential location from US 24 and 69, the southeast corner, where they were going to get 65 acres. They have decided, with consultation with the city and the people in New Haven, to move it to the southeast corner of US 30 and 469. Now, that is already a semi-developed area. There's truck stops out there, there's gas stations, there's a lot of other stuff going on in there, including the Field of Grace. It's a 140,000 square foot sports facility they want to put into that area. So now they're going from 65 acres to 90 acres. It's still going to be a $500 million casino. It's still going to be big. It's still going to have all the amenities like even hotels and restaurants and sports books and you name it. Question is it going to be built? Well, that's going to depend upon the state of Indiana's government concept. Because you see, the government of Indiana, the legislature, the House, are going to have to vote on moving the license, which already exists, from the southern Indiana, Rising Sun down in that area, where the casino is not doing well, and taking the license and moving it up to northeastern Indiana. Now, would this be a good area? Well, you've got yourselves in northeastern Indiana, 400,000 plus people just in the Fort Wayne area, and you got Michigan, you got Ohio, and on 469 and US 30, that's a natural location right there. Put a particular facility like that, and it could result in additional growth. You could have retail stores, you could have all kinds of stuff that could develop because that area apparently already has a lot of infrastructure to it. Now, will it happen? Well, that's up to the state, frankly. And there is, obviously, the city of New Haven has to decide if they want it. And right now, everything I'm seeing says they do. In a discussion with former Sheriff Ken Freeze, who's now a county councilman, he said he talked to all the sheriffs in all the cities that have casinos in Indiana. He said it's not a crime issue that happens, it's a domestic dispute issues that happen in the state. Husband or wife gets involved with gambling, what have you, and that's where the problems come in. But the casino here could generate a massive amount of money for the state of Indiana. Also for New Haven, Police Department, East Allen County School Districts. We are talking about millions of dollars that they would get because of the taxes on the casino. So you have to decide, well, do you want it or don't you want it? Will you benefit from it, and how bad will it be? Like I said, it's not the violence that you think of. I'll leave that to other places like, well, Vegas. Nope. But could it happen? Yes, it could. Is there a time for it? No, until the legislature decides if they're going to move the license, nothing else is going to happen. But Rising Sun right now said, we're moving our plan, thanks to the city, to the corner, the southeast corner of US 30 and 469. That, my friends, is going to make it very well positioned for a lot of more intense growth from New Haven, Indiana, heading out to the east, and finally developing that corridor, once they put in 469, could get even bigger. Just something to wait and see what happens. But now you know what's going on with a potential casino in New Haven. Well, if you remember back a few months ago when they had the USA swimming finals, if you will, for the Olympics, for people to be on the Olympic team, and they held it in Indianapolis, in Lucas Oil Field. And there they constructed Olympic-sized swimming pool, right there on the floor of the field house. It wasn't just one pool, it was two pools. And this is Olympic size. After the event was over, people were saying, well, what are you going to do with the swimming pool? Turns out another organization purchased it. And it was a Fort Wayne Swimming and Health group bought the pool up at what amounts to as a used car price. Now, they brought it back to Fort Wayne and then tried to figure out, okay, where are we going to put it? What are we going to do with it? One of the suggestions that I brought up was with downtown, the city of Fort Wayne, got a big piece of property down there where the Taco Bell is and the Euros place is, right downtown, right next to the Grand Wayne. I said that might be a great facility. However, based on what I'm currently reading on the new proposal that just come out, that may not be the right place. Turns out the folks at the swimming club, and I use that term very loosely because they're really not, are teaming together with Northwest Allen County Schools and are proposing a 92,000 square foot natatorium. And I mean a big natatorium. This thing will have 2 swimming pools, 30 lanes. It'll have expanded diving capabilities, which means a diving tank. Anybody who's been down to Bloomington and down at IU and see how they have their facility set up, you're getting along that line right there. Multi-purpose spaces, changing facilities, available to everybody. I mean, that's everybody. Storage, it's going to be 300% larger than the current Northwest Allen County facility, what they have. It's going to be big, but it'll give us a Olympic-sized swimming pool for people to come in, practice in, to compete in, and that would be a boon to swimmers in northeastern Indiana and to the Midwest, because we'd have a big giant pool where they can swim in and compete in. Now, the question is, this thing is going to cost, well, a pretty good sum of money. I mean, a lot of money when you think about it. What we're talking about is about, grand total, you figure one group is going to put in about $18 million, and the other group, the Northwest Allen County Schools, is going to put in about $35 million. All told, well, it's going to reach somewhere in the range of a couple $100 million. And that's a pretty strong amount of money. But you have to understand something. Swimming is a big thing. And if they had a swimming meet down in Indianapolis and put in a pool right in the center of Lucas Oil, it's a big thing. Now, where should they locate it? Well, if the Northwest Allen County people are involved, then you're probably thinking about maybe over the land owned by Carroll High School at Carroll. Well, but it seems logical. Another spot, if the partnership says, hey, they have a say in where to put it, I'm thinking maybe on Lima Road, right there where the Byron Health Center used to be. Easy in, easy out, direct traffic line from Lima Road coming down north-south. It would be perfect. Now, it's just throwing that out, spitballing, if you will. But there it is. Something new could be coming, a new natatorium, 92,000 square feet, Olympic-size Olympic pool. And it could be coming to the city of Fort Wayne thanks to the Northwest Allen County School District and the Swim for Life folks. You know what? Got to give them a lot of credit. I hope this program goes out, and I hope it scores 1,000,000 points. You know, there's been much talk about the presidential election, but a lot of folks aren't thinking about what's really could be bigger than that. That could be the House of Representative race. Because every 2 years, they all get reelected. And this year, well, it could have a bigger meaning than you could possibly imagine because the Democrats want to win back the House of Representatives in the worst way. Once they get control, they can do something that, well, a lot of people are saying, can they really do this? Well, the fact of the matter is they might be able to try it. Will it work? I can't guarantee it. What is it? Utilizing the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Now you're going, what's he talking about? Well, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was known as the Insurrection Clause. Now, this was put in at the end of the Civil War, and about 1868, I think it was put back in. And that's when the Confederate states were rejoining the Union. Trouble was, Congress didn't want to have any of the Confederate folks into the Congress. So they passed a rule, Section 3, that says if you were an insurrectionist, you were against the United States, against the Union, if you will, you couldn't serve in government. You couldn't hold public office, namely like Congress, Senate, and maybe the presidency. Now, that goes back to Civil War. Could they use it today? Let me give you a scenario. Democrats win control of the House. They decide to have to pass a resolution that says that that Section 3 is in effect, and nobody who's an insurrectionist, as they consider Donald Trump to be, can be voted into office. Well, what's going to happen then? They won't certify the vote, right? Won't certify the Electoral College? Well, you see, then the way the clause works is then they have to say, well, let's look at all the people who got all the votes. And they say, well, we're going to not take the first person who won the votes. We're going to take the second person with the second highest amount of votes, which is Kamala Harris. Yeah, put her into office as president, but it's going to take 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate to approve that. Now you think, now here's how that's going to work. They can't get that done. Then you're looking at a situation where every state then would get one vote. Every state get one vote. So California get one vote, New York get one vote, Texas gets one vote, Florida gets one vote, Indiana gets one vote. And for someone to be confirmed as president, they have to get a majority of the state votes. 2/3. It's about, 35, 36, somewhere in there. 36 votes to be president. They can't decide on any of that. And you think, I mean, are you able to do that? The person who's voted as vice president would then become the president of the United States. In this case, Trump wins, be J.D. Vance. Why is this all happening? Well, back some months ago, Colorado tried to take Trump off the ballot, saying he was an insurrectionist. The Supreme Court, by a 9-0 decision, said, no, you can't do that. Only the Congress can do it. Now the Congress is going, yeah, we can do it. Let's try doing it. The person who's thinking about doing that is none other than Jamie Raskin, a Democrat from Maryland, Baltimore, if you will. That's what's coming, folks. That's what may happen if the Democrats take the House of Representatives and try to use Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to negate the election and refuse Donald Trump to take over the presidency. Just thought I'd tell that to you, so now you know. Well, we've heard about newspapers deciding not to endorse anybody in this year's political campaign, like the LA Times, which created a big furor, then the Washington Post. They had a bunch of cancellations because the owner, Jeff Bezos, didn't want to back anybody. And that's happening around the country. But here's a big one that most people in the financial world, they want to know, whoa, what's Warren Buffett doing? Because Warren Buffett is the Oracle of Omaha, and he has all the money, and he knows what's going on, and whoever he decides to endorse, well, people are going to say, yeah, he knows something, and he's where he's going, that's where America should go. Well, turns out Obama, or rather back in 2016, he endorsed Hillary. And then Barack Obama in 2008, and then 2012, yep, he endorsed Barack Obama. So he went for Hillary over Trump, went for Obama over whoever Obama was running against, and I think it was Romney. And but in 2020, he didn't endorse anyone. Frankly, a lot of people didn't because they didn't know what to do with this particular situation. So the question is, well, who's he going to endorse in 2024? People said, well, if he's going to get off the dime, he's going to name somebody he supports. Well, he went on to CNBC and said, here's the deal. He said, I ain't endorsing nobody. That's right. Warren Buffett is once again endorsing nobody, which means he's not endorsing the Democrat or the Republican. And he's done those in the past. But this time he said, I ain't getting him out of that mess. So there's so many people out there, like newspapers, like I said, the Washington Post. They had, lost 250,000 subscribers because they didn't endorse a Democrat like they'd done, like, forever. And the LA Times, not endorsing anybody, lost a lot of people off their staff. A lot of folks quit. How dare the owner do that? But the owners of the newspapers can decide to do whatever they want because they own the newspaper. Don't have to like it. Don't have to buy the newspaper. And frankly, newspapers in this country are a dying breed. Just announced the biggest newspaper in New Jersey is, well, they're closing out, going out of business. Newspapers are doing that all over the place, America. You've seen what had happened here in the city of Fort Wayne when we lost our afternoon newspaper. And now the morning newspaper is dying on the vine. That's just how it works, folks. But Warren Buffett says he isn't endorsing anyone in this election. Let the chips fall where they may. And come November 5th, hopefully we'll know where they fell. Well, I've talked about a lot of different things, much of which is politics or situations happening with business. But today, well, I'm going to the dogs. That's right, I'm going to the dogs. Because dogs are beloved for a reason. They're loyal, they have tons of personality, and they offer emotional support when you need it most, right? Well, you treat a dog right, and frankly, you'll have a companion through the good times and the bad times when you really need it. Well, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, which is where some of this document came from, canines are the most common pets in the United States. 49 million households have at least one dog. That's almost 50 million out of 330 million people. Better still, 38% of dog owners get their dogs from animal rescue or shelters, and I think that's a very, very good point. I think that's worthy of noting. But dogs don't run cheap. The pet parents spend anywhere from $1,500 to over $2,500 annually for dog-related expenses, sort of like dog food, dog toys, veterinary visits. But the infection dogs provide kind of makes up for about everything, doesn't it? Well, here's the deal. Recently, a study was done to find out the most popular breeds in all 50 states, the most popular breeds, and that includes District of Columbia. And, well, what they learned is pretty surprising, but here's where I get the rub in, and here's where you may say, wait a minute, that ain't legit. Turns out they use insurance companies that insure pets. Now, let me ask you, is your pet insured? You've got insurance on your pet specifically? These are companies that specifically insure pets. Keep that in mind. It's going to tell you a whole lot right there. And what they figured out was across 21 states, including Alaska, Arkansas, Indiana, Texas, Oklahoma, and others, the number one favorite dog in the United States, according to these pet insurance companies, is the Chihuahua. What? That's right. Number one pet, according to insurance companies, is the Chihuahua. They also found out that 4% of all the dogs in the U.S. are Chihuahuas, and it's the most popular breed in the state of New Mexico. Okay, I'd kind of understand that because New Mexico is mostly Latin American. And for them, the Chihuahuas, well, that's their pet. All right? But it turns out that in New Mexico, it's about 7% of the population are dogs. All right? Just so you know. So, if you wonder what states are the favorite dogs according to the insurance institutes, Indiana, yes, says Chihuahua. I don't happen to buy it, but that's what it says. Now, it turns out number two, they said, in the United States, is the French Bulldog. French Bulldog, very popular in places like Idaho, California, Utah. And then you get other states where the Golden Doodle. And then, frankly, other states like Wyoming and Montana, their favorite dog is the German Shepherd. Okay, fine, I understand. But rounding out the top five, okay, Shih Tzus are the top five. Now, here's the plan. Like I said earlier, this is not going from kennels. This is not going to household, door to door, knocking on doors, say what kind of dog you have. These are people who get their dogs insured. Now, if you don't have your dog insured, your dog ain't going to be on this list. So it makes you wonder, why do Chihuahua owners have their dogs insured? Because they're ankle biters. That's just my opinion alone. So there you go, folks. Popular dog in America, according to the Insurance Institute that insures pets, is the Chihuahua, followed by the French Bulldog, Golden Doodles, and German Shepherds and Shih Tzus. all dogs that apparently have to have insurance. Can't tell you why, but a little something I just learned. However, I still ain't going to buy a Chihuahua. That ain't going to happen. Well, America's involved in its political seasoning, and unfortunately, celebrities have gotten themselves involved also. There's a real problem with that, because when you're a celebrity and you decide to endorse someone, well, all the folks on the other side are going to go, I don't like you anymore. It's how we've gotten in today's world, America. It ain't good, it ain't pretty. But I want to talk to you about one person in particular who I used to admire a great deal, who sadly has, well, gone to the dark side, in my opinion. Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is an Indiana University graduate, just like my daughters, and but he did something really cool. He loved listening to his Hoosiers. He said, how can we get this over the internet so I can listen to it anywhere I am? Created a concept, created a methodology to do it, ultimately sold it and became ultra wealthy. Became a big-time man in the business world. Bought the Dallas Mavs there at the games. Hey, he said some things and did some things, got himself some fines, but hey, that's Mark Cuban. Ended up on Shark Tank, one of the people on there offering deals. Shark Tank, you see people coming and pitching their products. Sometimes he liked them, sometimes he didn't, but he was always pretty straightforward about it. But when he became an advocate for one side in the political equation this year, he unfortunately turned a lot of people off. Now, more often than not, I tried to ignore it, but this time he kind of went over the edge. Because he went on The View. I don't watch The View, but he went on The View and he said, you know, Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever, Cuban said. It's just that simple. They're intimidating him, and he doesn't like to be challenged by them. And I'm going, whoa, dude, what the heck did you just put out of your mouth? Now, not that many people watch The View, but the media follows it, and it's going to end up going viral, and it did. Let me tell you about some of the women. Is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, his former press secretary, Ms. McConaughey. And probably my favorite, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is one tough chick. And how about Kellyanne Conway, when he was president, sitting there in the Oval Office on the couch telling him what to do and how to do it? You don't tell me she ain't a strong chick? She is. That's just one of few. Pam Bondi, Attorney General of Florida, I know who she is. Strong chicks. He's got strong chicks around him. Even his attorney, Aaliyah, I believe her name is, she's tough. So for Cuban to make that really idiotic statement on The View, knowing he's going to get publicity on this thing, is about the stupidest thing you could ever do. You got to understand, America, when you side with someone in today's world, today's politics, we are so hateful now in America, one side or the other side, that if you're in business, you're a celebrity, and you want people buying your records, buying your whatever you're producing, you don't come out in favor of anybody because you're going to alienate half of your potential customers. That's stupid. You know, Bill Gates was just announced donated $50 million to a political action committee, hoping he can do it anonymously, favoring the Democrats. People found out. People are saying, I'm not going to buy anything from Microsoft. Well, that's going to be probably a little difficult for a lot of people, but that's their feeling. You got to understand something. We have become so politically so polarized that it's frightening. It's frightening in more than one way. I have people that tell me they're worried America could be facing another civil war, much like it happened in the 1860s. Not over slavery, over politics. When we get to that level, folks, we are a troubled nation. Now, I'm hoping after the election, regardless of how it turns out, everybody cools off and settles down. I hope they will, because right now, you can't say anything in a family gathering. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose relatives. Can't say anything at a Christmas party or a Thanksgiving about anything, for fear you're going to alienate someone else in your family, and they're not going to talk to you, and maybe you don't want them to. It's your call. I'm just telling you what's going on. Mark Cuban made a stupid comment that is going to bite their party pretty big time. And Mark, you should be ashamed, because now you have alienated yourself with 50% of the audience that used to really like you a lot. That's where we've gone in the world today, folks. Not pretty, but that's what happened. Let's hope we don't go too far, because eventually there's no turning back. Well, you might remember the old days when Hillary called Republicans the basket of deplorables and how that worked out. Well, it looks like Joe Biden may have stuck his foot in it right close to the actual election itself when he was talking about a comedian that appeared at a Trump rally on Madison Square Garden. I'm not sure who the comedian was, never heard of him. He made a joke about Puerto Rico and trash and things on that island. And by the way, they do have a problem. It is a problem. But anyway, he made a joke about it. And so that Joe Biden at a political rally called Voto Latina, or Latino, whichever way you choose to say it, he went out and said, talking about the comedian and about the Trump rally, and then Joe Biden said, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it is un-American. And garbage, calling Trump supporters. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's a survey, there's stenographers who write this stuff down. They write everything down because it goes into presidential libraries later on down. And they follow all this immensely. Well, the White House decided to change the wording. They put an apostrophe in there. It was indicating that he was talking about Trump himself and not his supporters. Well, the stenography pool and the federal government, the people who do this stuff, are upset and say, wait a minute, you can't do that. White House tried anyway. But now, Bill Maher said, hey, this is worse than calling people the deplorables that Hillary did. 10 times worse, he said. Well, is it? Well, interestingly enough, there were people in Halloween who came out wearing trash cans and garbage bags. Said, hi, I'm a Republican. I couldn't believe that, but they did it. Did it have an effect? Maybe. Because you got to watch what you say. But here's the White House saying, well, what the president really meant to say. I'm going to tell you something, a little story. Back in the era of Vietnam, for anybody who was in that era, I happen to be one of those people, and flew in Southeast Asia, the media used to send reporters over to Southeast Asia into squadrons, fighter squadrons, bomber squadrons, and they would immediately want to go and talk to pilots after flying a mission, which is about the stupidest thing you could do. If you want to hear some bad stuff, you're going to hear from pilots who are tired, exhausted, and watch their friends get killed. And they would always send a PR guy from the military, PR guy would accompany the photographers, and a media guy would shove a microphone in the face of a pilot, ask him a question, and the pilot would utter more four-letter words than most Navy people know. And talking about what's happening. And then the PR guy from the military would always go, well, what the captain really meant to say. That's what it was all the time. We saw it all the time. You don't do that. You don't stick a microphone in the face of military people who shot their buddies get killed. Sorry. Well, in this case, the president, he said something that some people say is worse than the deplorables. He said the Trump supporters were garbage. And sure enough, Donald Trump shows up at his next rally in a garbage truck wearing a vest like the garbage workers wear. And he wore it while he was speaking to the audience. I know people in my circle decided they were going to wrap themselves in garbage bags and be garbage bags. Harmful? Potentially, yeah. Will it change the election? I don't know. But you got to be careful, folks. What you say in today's world is going to come back in one way, shape, or form and bite you. And this time, maybe it did for Joe Biden.